Good afternoon and welcome to the Connected Trip Explained session. My name is Matthias. I'm the SVP for the Trips business unit. I joined Booking 3.5 years ago, and in the Trips business unit, we are managing all our non-accommodation verticals. So we manage our flights business, our car rental business, our airport taxi business, our attractions business, and our insurance business. And then we also have a fairly large team that builds the platforms and capabilities for cross-selling, basically linking all these different verticals together in order to deliver the connected trip. So that's about myself, and let me hand over to my colleague Mark.
Hi everyone, great to be here with you this afternoon. My name's Mark Slater, and I'm the Senior Director for the Commercial Department within our cars business. I've been with the business now for 15 years, so to be stood up here today talking to you guys about the connected trip is super exciting for me, having all the work invested over many years. Actually seeing this starting to come to fruition now is pretty cool for us.
Great. So a year ago, we had Elevate in Singapore. Some of you were most probably also participating, and that was pretty much the first time when we actually talked about the connected trip. Now we're quite aware that it's a little bit a different audience today, so let me just quickly provide you the high-level kind of background about the connected trip. The connected trip is kind of our North Star of Booking, and it's a multi-year journey. We started to work or develop towards the connected trip around 4 years ago, so in 2019, and we will most probably still in 5 or even 10 years from now still talk about, well, delivering and building the connected trip, because it's something that takes time, that is very complex, and it is kind of a vision that we have, and we're gradually developing towards that vision, and we believe that that vision will be iterated over the next coming years, and we will become more sophisticated to build this connected trip. So what is the definition of a connected trip? A connected trip is a booking or reservation that consists of more than one verticals. And these verticals don't necessarily need to be booked together. So for example, I book an accommodation, and then during the checkout process, I get a recommendation to book an airport taxi, and I book the airport taxi. So that's a connected trip. Or I book an accommodation, and 5 days prior to check-in into my hotel, I get a push notification from the hotel with some check-in details, and I actually go again on the app and I see, I could actually book an attraction. That's also a connected trip. So it doesn't really need to be all booked together, but it needs to be booked together in the same trip, which we define based on timelines. So this is basically what the connected trip entails. Now, last year in Singapore, we talked a lot about what we did, kind of the foundational work that we did during the pandemic years, and that was really much filling the shelves, scaling our product, making sure that we have global coverage across the key markets where we also have our accommodation product. Especially the scaling focus was very much on flights, attractions, and insurance, because these are our newest verticals. Just to give you an example, flights, the first flight that we actually sold on our platform was in September 2019. Attractions we started in 2020, and insurance we also started our insurance business late 2020. So fairly new verticals, and we're now at the stage where we think we really have this global coverage. But again, this is all history, and we had a very, very active year last year. And I guess, Mark, you have a couple of points, right, on a couple of highlights, what we actually did during the last 12 months.
Okay, yeah, so what have we done since last year? So the first thing we've done is looked at the user experience, as we all do in terms of our platforms for our customers. And that's within each individual vertical, as Matthias was just alluding to, but also trying to actually connect the individual verticals together to make sure it's actually easier, the plumbing's in place for us to actually swap data backwards and forwards from one vertical to another. So that's been a really big focus for us. In addition to that, within the user experience, we talked about the visibility and making sure that we do offer the car rental at the right time if you've booked a hotel. So we've been increasing the number of touch points and the overall exposure that different verticals get and the connected trip opportunities actually have. And then the other one is kind of recommendations and making sure that we're actually merchandising effectively and trying to understand what it is the customer's looking for and what's the optimal level of connected trip, i.e. what's the right option for each individual customer. The other thing we've done is continue to scale Genius. I know everyone in the room will be familiar with our loyalty program, so we've continued to scale within accommodation, but really crucially as well, we've now got a multi-vertical Genius proposition, and that exists today within cars and in flights as well, and in taxi as well. And we do want to roll that out across all the other verticals that we actually work with. The other one we've been doing and continue to do is experimentation. Again, this is back to the visibility element, but we've been experimenting with price discounting, and in some cases, in this example here on screen, actually free taxis if you book a hotel over a certain value. So essentially going out there again, trying to understand how we can best optimize our offering and incentivize customers to book more than one vertical at the same time. Over to you, Matthias.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I think these points and developments that Mark mentioned, this is all very visible. It's live on our platforms. And if you say about our platforms, it's on web, it's on mobile, and it's across the app. And actually, the customer sees these propositions, and we're very much experimenting and continuously improving all these propositions. The last one is multi-product basket and checkout. And that's something that is not yet visible for our customers, but it's a massive undertaking, and we really are working on that. We started to work on that in the first quarter this year, and most probably we will be in the process, or we will be ready to launch the first use case towards the end of this year. Currently, the connected trip is really kind of, the connected trip happens in the post-book environment, which means that a customer concludes or finishes the first reservation. For example, I start with an accommodation, and then if I want to add a car rental, it's a new transaction. So I get a recommendation in the post-book environment, maybe on the checkout page. I get asked, well, maybe do you want to add a car or do you want to add an airport taxi? And then as a customer, I start a new transaction. So everything in the post-book space. What multi-product basket and checkout means is that we're actually combining multiple verticals into one book transaction and especially into one payment transaction. So there's still two different kind of products and reservations in the background, but in the front end for the customer, it's a smooth process and it's only one transaction. As said, work in progress. The first use case that we'll have on this new platform, or for which we will use this new platform, is flight and insurance, where we will actually start to offer insurance in combination with a flight, and we will offer that new capability. And a second use case, most probably a little bit more exciting than flight and insurance, is accommodation and airport taxi. Again, where customers will then be able to actually bundle these two things into one transaction and pay in one transaction. And the ultimate goal, and where we really think the biggest potential lies, is in flights and accommodation. This is by far the biggest use case that we defined. But as mentioned, we're actually gradually starting to roll out these capabilities, starting with flight and insurance towards the end of this year.
Okay, so in order to have the very best connected trip experience, obviously we need to optimize each individual business unit, each vertical. And really, that's what we've been focused on, as well as making sure we connect the trip. Particularly in APAC, we've really scaled up all our verticals, actually, as you can see here on the slide. So in flights, we now have 10 markets live, 5 added last year alone in 2022. Car rental, again, a really significant coverage with 3,000 pickup locations available across Asia. And really key as well, and I think we've been talking to a few people in the room, making sure that we've actually got sustainability at the top of mind, and making, in this example, we've got green vehicles, be it hybrid or EVs, available across almost 50% of our coverage, which is something that we're really proud of, and obviously something that's, again, is going to continue to increase over time. Taxi, airport taxis, public transport and ride-hail in now 1,150 cities across APAC. Again, a really significant coverage, which enables us to do, as Matthias described, offer a really significant connected trip proposition by offering free taxi or discounted taxi when customers book the hotel. Really cool as well, we signed an agreement with Klook, which has given us a good level of product in our attractions business across APAC. And also insurance, really key. Insurance is now, or will very soon be live in Australia and New Zealand. And also we've got really lofty ambitions in terms of our overall insurance proposition, whereby we're going to offer travel insurance to all our customers that can be attached to either a flight or to a hotel. So again, some really good developments and exciting growth. Talk about the connected trip growth in Asia. Is it relevant in this market? Do customers want the connected trip in APAC? Well, I think these numbers, albeit coming from a relatively low baseline from last year, these numbers kind of tell you that they actually do. So we've seen well over 200% increase in bookings and in TTV, a transactional value, and over 150% 150% increase in our customers. So again, we're really proud of these numbers. The key now is to make sure we continue to scale that this year from a much higher baseline.
Great. So I think we spent quite some time on recapping what happened during the last 12 months on the key kind of objectives and key products that we are currently working on, and also kind of the first success numbers as we see on this slide, especially here related to the APAC region. So let's kind of jump a little bit forward and kind of let's look at the next 12, 18 months and kind of share with you what we have in store and what kind of the next evolution of the connected trip is going to look like. So basically there are 3 core objectives that we are going to focus on. The first one, and most probably you heard it already in the Genius session before, and Mark already mentioned it, is really scaling Genius across all our verticals. Genius is a product that it was initially established for our accommodation, or was initially established for our accommodation business. As Mark mentioned, we then rolled it out across our car rental product and also in airport taxi. We have a proposition in car rental and in airport taxi or we have one common proposition for all Genius levels. So for Genius level 1 to Genius level 3, customers currently benefit from a 10% discount on the normal rate. In the airport taxi vertical, we're starting to experiment a little bit in what is the right discount that we should offer. We also look at an increased discount for level 2 and level 3 Genius customers. It's going to be the same in car rental. Then we're going to launch Genius in flights and in attractions. In attractions, the Genius proposition will most probably be based on a discount on the attractions price. And in the flight segment, we're starting a number of experiments in order to see how to best kind of include flights in our Genius proposition. The other big one, big focus on Genius is to make sure that we use a common, and we call that Genius wrapper, across all the book funnels and the book funnels and confirmation pages. So that if you're a Genius customer, you will always enter, you will be recognized through all the book funnels that you're actually a Genius customer, and we will serve you automatically the respective discounts, independent whether you start with a car rental or whether you start with an accommodation booking. The second one, and that's kind of more an immediate focus, because we will start with the first experiments on the flight side and in attractions in the coming quarter, so that will still happen before the end of this year. The second point is a heavy investment in our data capabilities. So that is also something that will take a little bit longer, and where the benefit will actually come gradually, where our customers will see a gradual benefit. The core here is to really combine all the different data points that we collect across all the verticals, combine them in one database, and then come up with much more contextual search results. So to make the whole proposition more user-friendly and more targeted to the specific user requirements. I can give you some very basic examples of how this could actually look like. Customer booked 3 weeks ago 2 double rooms in a hotel. We know that the customer booked these 2 hotel rooms under the same family name, and we also know that 2 children are involved. Customer then leaves our platform. 2 weeks later, customer comes back and wants to search for a car rental. So we try to identify the customer again, and we actually adjust the search result based on the customer information that we have, which means that we're most probably not going to offer the customer Fiat 500 as the top search result, because it's unlikely that that particular customer will be able to rent a Fiat 500 with no space for luggage, considering that is actually family travel. Or another use case is, we know that Mark booked a flight to Barcelona, and we also know that Mark booked a hotel in the city center of Barcelona. So as a cross-sell, we most probably won't recommend Mark a 10% discount on a car rental, because it's unlikely that he would actually rent a car, but it's more likely that he would most probably book an airport taxi, and hence we would offer him a special offer on airport taxi. So these are things that we're starting to launch also during next year. We already use data, of course, in order to come up with better contextual search results, but we expect a significant step up during the next year. And then the last point, and that's kind of bridging the gap between search and booking. And what we mean with that is we're very strong in search and book. We have never really strongly focused on the whole planning stage. So when the customer actually comes to our page, to our platform, and starts the planning process. So what we're planning here is to implement or develop kind of we call it a notepad. So a customer comes to our platform, does a search, and can then store the search on a notepad without booking. We keep all the information, customer comes back at any time to the notepad, picks up the search, and actually just goes to book without starting the whole search process at the very beginning again. So again, quite a simplification of the interaction on our platform. So everything that we covered so far is actually benefits and reasons of why we work towards the connected trip for the consumer, our traveler. But as Fiona mentioned at the very beginning this morning in the opening session, we are very aware that we are a two-sided marketplace. So we have actually to deliver benefits to our traveler, but obviously also benefits to you as our partners. And we believe that the connected trip ultimately has a lot of benefits for both our supply partners, but then also for our B2B demand partners. We have a lot of hypotheses of what these benefits are, and as we also heard from our marketing colleagues, we are a very, very data-driven organization. So we actually, test and experiment and try to prove the hypothesis that we have via data. So by now, and considering that kind of the connected trip is really alive already and active cross-selling is already alive for a good 12 months, we can confirm some of our hypotheses. So the first one, benefit for our supply partners, I think is very straightforward, is more verticals on our platform leads to more demand. I think the biggest additional new demand driver is actually our flights vertical, where we know that a significant percentage of flight customers are new customers on our platform. They have never really interacted with us. And we also know that a very, very high number of flight customers actually attach accommodation to their flight bookings. So great for all our accommodation partners here in this room. We also know that connected trip passengers tend to be higher quality customers. What do we mean by higher quality customers? We know that connected trip passengers have a lower cancellation rate. So they do cancel less than a customer that only books an accommodation. Second one is, we also know that there is a tendency or a trend that connected trip passengers tend to book higher yielding products. One example is, we know that accommodation bookers who attach a car rental tend to actually book higher car categories and therefore also higher yielding car categories. We also know that the average length of stay of connected trip passengers tends to be longer than if somebody only books an accommodation. And the other one is we see more loyalty. That is also a very clear kind of sign that we see. The repeat rate within a 6 months window after the first connected trip booking is also much higher than for customers who only book one accommodation. And the last point is that adding multiple verticals together give us more opportunities to structure commercial propositions, different commercial propositions, and we don't just offer upfront discounts on the base product. I think that's better for you because it doesn't really dilute your product, and we have much more room to play by combining different verticals together.
So we've obviously want to provide so much value to you, our supply partners, but as Matthias said, this also works for demand partners as well. And there's been a huge focus this last 12 months trying to understand what the partner wants and the needs of the customer of that partner as well. So what are the benefits? Well, everything that Matthias has just gone through equally applies to demand partners, the high-value customers, incremental bookings, etc., etc. But also, as well as the actual incremental volume, it's the quality of customer. Again, as Matthias was alluding to, these customers don't cancel as much. They tend to spend more. They have a better customer satisfaction rate. All of this goes towards improving the offering that we're giving to you, our demand partners, as well. The other thing that we've done and again spent a lot of time on is offering a number of our demand partners the ability to book multi-verticals, to engage with this connected trip proposition, as we've said. Again, really important as partners, we work strategically and we offer you what is a really compelling future proposition as well.
So, complex, a lot of work. Is it really meaningful? How big are the volumes? Do we see growth? And the answer is yes. Again, our first hypotheses are absolutely proven. We see significant uptake in the connected trip, and we're actually growing on a month-over-month basis. Mark already showed the high-level data for the APAC region, but if you look at the global connected trip volume, it actually looks pretty similar. So we've seen a 100% increase, and this is right kind of the last 12 months versus compared on a year-over-year basis. We had a 100% increase in total number of connected trip bookings versus a year ago. 80% increase in customers who booked a connected trip transaction. And this is an interesting one, because you might say, well, it's 100% increase in bookings, but it's only 80% increase in passengers, in customers. That actually goes back to loyalty, what we mentioned before. We see a higher repeat rate of connected trip customers. So they book more, hence the number of total, and hence the increase in total number of bookings is larger. And also we see more than 100% growth in total transaction value generated via connected trip bookings on a year-over-year basis.
So yeah, as we said, the connected trip is our North Star. This is not a 12-month ambition. This is something that's going to be a multi-year body of work for us. And we've tried to talk in some detail about some of the things that we're literally working on today and have worked on in the past. But what we want to try and do now is just try and paint the picture for you. What is this ambition, and ultimately what will this look like for customers in the future?
Before we jump in, I want to start with a statement we're all very familiar with. Make it easier for everyone to experience the world. But what is ease? What does ease actually mean for our customers? Well, let's take a look. Ease is being able to not know where you want to go, when, or even for how long. Ease is being able to find exactly what you want or need for your trip. Ease is being able to see recommendations that actually add value to you and your trip. Ease is being able to never have to enter your information twice. Ease is being able to receive immediate help when your trip has a disruption. And ease is being able to communicate about any aspect of your trip without language barriers. Ease is being able to book and pay in the way that best fits your needs. Ease is knowing you'll get rewarded for every trip. And ease is being able to make the most out of every minute when you're on a trip. So just how are we going to bring this type of ease to our customers in the future?
All right, and this is kind of our vision, how we intend to make it even easier for everyone to experience the world over the next couple of years. Again, it's a multi-year journey. This is not done. What you just saw is not happening next year. It's also not going to happen in the next 24 months, but that's most probably a 4 to 5 year journey until we're actually there. That was it from us, kind of a high-level overview about what the connected trip is and the benefits for you as our partners and our travelers. Thank you for your attention and for your interest. Thank you very much.